There's no question that for quite a while now in the short track world, there's been a bit of a coastal bias. Attention's been paid to East Coast teams, and the West Coast teams for a long time have kind of been forgotten about. Well, these days, that coastal bias is going away in a hurry and for good reason. The young talent coming out of the woodwork over on the left coast are worth noticing and worth keeping an eye on. Case in point, a young man out of Bakersfield, California, going for the 2016 K&N West Series Rookie of the Year, none other than Blaine Perkins. I got Blaine on the line with me. Mr. Perkins, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me this evening.
Yeah, thanks for spending the time with me.
Now, you're coming into the K&N West Tour with some late model experience and some modified experience in the last couple of years. But the most interesting thing about you is that you're a first-generation racer. You sort of started all this from the ground up. You're the tip of the spear for your family in terms of the short track world. What got you into short track racing?
I've always loved racing. Ever since I was a little kid, I've always watched NASCAR, and it's always fascinated me. And I really just started at the little indoor go-kart tracks with my dad, and it was just always fun for me. So I started in the go-karts and worked my ways up.
So from karting, you progressed into Legends cars racing, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, into the Bandoleros and the Legend cars.
Now, Legends car racing on the West Coast, this is another thing. I think a lot of people might be sleeping on some of the talent out there, but in terms of scale car racing, especially the Legends division, there's a lot of really good drivers coming out of the California scene these days.
Yeah, no, the Legends West Coast drivers, they're just very experienced drivers. I'm actually racing with a lot of them in the modified series and in the K&N. So a lot of up-and-comers this year that I've been racing with throughout the past couple of years.
Now, you got to dabble in K&N last year. That was a deal that sort of came together very late in the season. How did that all come about? And tell me a little bit about the experience, because I'm sure it was a bit overwhelming going from the local modified scene into the K&N West Tour.
Yeah, we had been approached by Bill McAnally Racing and to run the Roseville race for him, and we thought it'd be a great idea to run it. We were planning and hoping to run the K&N car full-time this year, and then we felt like it's time. I've had ran almost a full season in the modifieds at the point last year, and the full season for Wendell late models.
Now, going from anything open wheel obviously is going to respond a lot differently than the heavier K&N West cars. The late model, I guess, is a little bit closer, but even still, when you got behind the wheel of that K&N car, it must have been like driving on the moon. I mean, it must have been completely different than anything else you would race up into that point.
Yeah, no, it was completely different from everything I've learned and raced. It was definitely a big learning experience driving these heavy cars and with all this horsepower. But the modifieds and the late models, they've taught me different things, but they're all helped me towards the K&N car. And then I've just been blessed by having such great driving instructors throughout the years. So it really made the transition pretty easy for me.
I mean, despite the limited experience in heavy car racing, in K&N racing, to finish 13th on the lead lap in a stacked field. I mean, there were 24 cars, 24 good cars at All-American Speedway when you were there. 13th place, finished up the field pretty good in just your first career attempt.
Yeah, no, it was awesome to finish. We really just want to run every lap, try and stay on the lead lap. We had a fast car all weekend, so it was just a great result at the end of the weekend.
Now, as soon as you had brought that car back to the paddock and you sort of, it was in one piece and you had gotten a feel for how different these cars respond, did you know right away that you were indeed wanting to run the full season in 2016? I mean, is that what sort of sealed the deal for you?
Yeah, the first time I got in the K&N car, I just knew it was like kind of meant for me. It was just awesome. I'll never forget it. Just a fun experience to learn these different cars throughout the years, and so far the K&N car is just awesome.
So now you get to go out on the road with the K&N West Series from March to October. You're going to go to a few places that you haven't been to before. I mean, when you look at the schedule, it really does sort of cover the entire West Coast landscape. I mean, you're in Colorado, you're in Arizona, you're in California. Is there one place that you're really looking forward to getting to and to trying out, maybe a facility you haven't been to yet?
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to running Sonoma with on NASCAR weekend. I feel like that'll be just an awesome experience to run with all the NASCAR drivers and just kind of really experience what a NASCAR weekend is like. And I've always loved Sonoma. I've always loved road course racing since I started out in the go-karts.
Now, did you do a lot of road course racing with the Legends cars?
Yeah, we've ran the past 3 years. We've ran the Winter Road Course Series in Las Vegas for the Legend cars. And that always keeps me sharp. I mean, these Legend cars are very tough to drive. But I've always loved the road course racing, and that's why we do it every year.
Now, whether it's Sonoma or Douglas County or Meridian or any of these other places on the schedule, it's so important to have that support system, to have that team behind you to help you make the right decisions and get this car dialed in. Tell me a little bit about the team that you're partnering with for the 2016 season.
Yeah, so we signed with Steve Portgate Racing to drive the number 21 Chevrolet. Steve's an awesome guy. I mean, he's taught me so much already. He's going to be my crew chief and spotter. His name is known in the Camping World Truck Series and K&N Series. So it'll be great to have such experience with me while I'm driving. He'll just give me a ton of help throughout the whole season, going to all these different racetracks.
And it's going to be great to have that veteran guidance. But one place that you might not need guidance at is on March 19th, the season opener, when you roll into Irwindale Speedway, because that's a joint that you got a little bit of experience there.
Yeah, we ran the whole late model season last year at Irwindale, so it's nice to start off the season at a familiar racetrack, get used to this car, used to the team. It just, we're waiting. Can't come soon enough.
Now, to get to go back to Irwindale, that's going to be great for you, but knowing that it might be the last time you race there, is that going to be a bit of a bummer? Because I know that they've extended the season till, I think, July, and then after that it's unclear what's happening with the Speedway. So is it mixed emotions for you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's where I started running. I ran there for the past 5-6 years. Irwindale's near and dear to my heart. It's a great racetrack, and I've always loved running it.
Now, another place that I'm sure is near and dear to your heart is Kern County Raceway Park. It's right in your backyard. You get to go there on April 2nd with the K&N car, but even sooner than that, you get to go there in an open-wheel modified as part of the Winter Showdown weekend. Now, as big as this show was last year, and believe me, the entire country stood up and took notice of what the guys out on the left coast were doing with that $20,000 to win show. It's going to be even bigger this year, and the modified portion is going to be even bigger. I'm sure that's an event that you couldn't wait to sign up for and get back to.
Yeah, no, that'll be an awesome race to run out here at our backyard at KCRP. That's just going to be awesome to run with Mike Garcia and Garcia Racing. We're going to run the full season in the modifieds, 8 of the 11 or 12 races this year for the Lucas Oil modifieds. And
you mentioned that even with all the K&N West Series commitments, you wanted to make sure that you stayed with the modified and got to as many of those shows as you could. Why is that? What is it about the Lucas Oil modifieds that you've just fallen in love with? Why is it that you wanted to get back there in 2016?
The modifieds, they teach me so much. I mean, there's a lot of horsepower with them. Plus the driving competition, it's just outstanding. It's some of the best drivers on the West Coast. And then the cars, they're just so much fun to drive. And the Lucas Oil Tour, it's veteran heavy. I mean, there's a lot of really good young talent, but there's a lot of guys running that tour that have been around forever. Is that one thing that sort of took you back a little bit when you were trying to cut your teeth in 2015 and get used to these cars? Yeah, definitely. I mean, learning to run with all these new people drivers, it definitely made me learn more. It's been great to run with all these different drivers throughout the year, last year. Now, in terms of the Winter Showdown event, the Modifieds obviously headlining the undercard of the Super Late Model show. They had a good turnout in 2015, but from what I understand, it's going to be even bigger and even better
in 2016. It's coming up in a couple of weeks. What can we expect out of the modifieds at KCRP?
You can expect a lot of racing action going on. That's going to be an awesome race. One of the first, first time they've been there besides last year. And then it's just a great racetrack for those cars. And running with the Super Lates it's a great show for the weekend.
I mean, does it mean that much more for you to be able to compete in front of family and friends and sponsors that maybe might not get to see you that much throughout the summer with you being out on the road? I mean, racing in front of them in your backyard, is that an extra special event for you?
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Having all my friends, family, sponsors coming out to the races. It'll just be an exciting moment for them to come watch what we really do and how our team does and all these great racing from all these people from all over the United States.
Now, your late model numbers at Irwindale, your stats, they were impressive. And I think a lot of people know that coming into this K&N West Series, you're no slouch. You're one to keep an eye on. But have you had that chance yet to sit down with your team and your dad and whoever else and kind of chart out what your expectations are for 2016? I mean, what do you need to accomplish in order for you to be proud of your freshman effort?
I mean, throughout this year, we definitely want to run as many laps as possible. I mean, we're definitely going to go after the Rookie of the Year honors for the K&N, and hopefully if everything goes to plan throughout the year, we're going to be running for the championship at the end of the year.
Now, what we've seen out east with the K&N East Series is that not a lot of drivers stick around for more than one tour of duty, as it were, so to speak. They come in for a year and then they move on to something else. The West is a little bit different. You got some drivers that have been around for a long while on the K&N West Series. Have you looked that far ahead yet that maybe this is just a year to get your feet wet and then you come back in 2017 and run the series again, or are you just concentrating on what's immediately in front of you?
We're just concentrating on what's going to go on this year. We'd love to run as many races as we can next year and everything, but we're not completely set in stone for anything or what we're going to run next year. It kind of depends on how we run this year in the West Series.
It's incredible to see your parents, and again, I stress, not coming from a racing family, not coming from a racing background, how both your mother and your father have just jumped in with both feet. They're so involved. They're so into this whole deal. I mean, has it surprised you at any point how into this your dad really is?
No, it hasn't surprised me. They've always been with me no matter what I do, any decision I make. They always support me, and I've always wanted to race cars, and they've definitely got my back on this, and they're trying to help me chase my dream.
Now, in the couple of years you've really been doing this big, have you felt like the coastal bias that a lot of West Coast teams have experienced in the last decade? Have you felt that it's going away a little bit, that a lot of the media members and teams out on the East are taking notice of the talent out West?
Yeah, the East is definitely taking notice. I mean, the West supports so many great drivers and takes them throughout the series, and it's just amazing all the competition that comes from the West Coast that moves on to the East Coast, but still.
It's been very impressive. I mean, just recently we had Noah Gregson come down, and he ran Speed Fest. He ran really, really well down there. We've had Derek Thorne obviously put up huge numbers just about wherever he goes, especially now that he's hooked up with the Kurt Jett team, doing big things in Florida and California, so he's sort of bi-coastal now. For all the fans on the East Coast that have heard about you, that have read about you, that haven't got to see you in person yet, is there any chance this season or maybe next year that we might get to see you run an event out on the East Coast, whether it's a K&N race or a super late model event?
Yeah, we definitely hope so. We're still trying to put together some races, hopefully to run maybe a K&N race back there on the East Coast or a super late race. We're not completely sure, but that's definitely on our schedule, hopefully, for this year.
I guess Iowa, when you go to Iowa Speedway in July, it's going to give you your first opportunity to race against some of these K&N East powerhouse teams when they do the combination event. That's got to be something you're really looking forward to.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the other events that I'm be looking forward to, running with all the East drivers and all the great competition at Iowa. going to such a big racetrack. That'll be the biggest biggest oval I've ever raced on. So that'll be a big learning experience and a lot of fun.
All right, let me put you on the spot right now. Winter Showdown, super late model event. Who's going to win it this year? I figured I could ask you that because you don't have a dog in this fight right now. So you're unbiased. So I'll throw it to you. You're my West Coast expert, my Fresh Coast representative. Who's driving to victory lane at KCRP in a couple of weeks in that super late model event?
Yeah, I'll have to say Derek Thorne. I mean, he's showed what he's capable of all year, and he's just a great driver with Byron, four-star fruit. I definitely think they'll be running for it first place when it comes down to it.
Thorne has really led the charge for the West Coast guys in the last couple of years, going down to the Derby and putting up some big numbers and really sort of staying in the face of everybody over on the East Coast that may have discounted the West Coast talent. He's done a great job doing that. You're absolutely right. He showed that he can hang with Dalton Sargent. He can hang with Bubba Pollard and anybody else that wanted to come out from the East. He did the West Coast proud last year. Has he been a help at all? I know you guys have ended up in the same place at the same time at a couple of different moments. Has he offered any guidance to you in the last couple of years?
Yeah, he's helped me throughout the years. Any questions I ever have, he'll answer with. And then he's just been a great help throughout the years, watching him and Byron, and just been following them for the past 4 years.
That's incredible, man. I mean, I can't wait to get up to KCRP to see you guys go to work with that modified. I know they're expecting a great car count. For someone that doesn't get to see the Lucas Oil Modifieds as much as I would like to, who's a couple of teams that I should maybe keep an eye out for? I know that you're going to be going to the front of the field, but who's going to be joining you at the front at KCRP when it's time to go to work in about 3 weeks' time?
My teammates, Dylan Capello and Peyton Saxton, we're all running for Garcia Racing. They're a great team. We'll definitely see them up front. And then Austin Barnes, he's another great competitor. He won the championship last year. And there's so many other drivers to name. I mean, there's just so much competition in the Lucas Oil Modifieds.
It really does feel like the Lucas Oil Mods are one of the fastest growing series on either coast. I mean, you hear about so much talent running with this tour, and they're constantly adding new drivers. I mean, do you feel as though this is something that could just keep on growing and truly become one of the premier tours in the United States?
Yeah, I definitely do. I mean, this series is just amazing. The cars are amazing to drive, and you learn so much from them. It really takes a race car driver to manhandle these cars around and drive them and get them up to the front with all this hard competition. I definitely see this series growing into a bigger premier sport.
Well, it's all happening February 27th and 28th, Kern County Raceway Park, Bakersfield, California. I mean, it's going to be a massive event. I'm going to get to sort of shadow you all weekend long for your Facebook and your Twitter and kind of follow you along and provide some video content, some photo content to see just how the weekend pans out for you. I'm really looking forward to it. I know that you're looking forward to getting back behind the wheel because you've had a few months off now. It's going to be a monster field. I can't wait to see it. Thank you so much for taking the time and to preview your 2016 season, my man.
Yeah, thanks for talking to me about it.
All right, well, we'll see you in a couple of weeks. That's Blaine Perkins getting ready for the Lucas Oil Modified portion of the Winter Showdown coming up February 27th and 28th at Kern County Raceway Park.